Welcome into the weekend wrap-up with Trevor Junt. I'm your host, Trevor Junt. In this show, we talk about all the NFL games that happened in the weekend with a 2-minute timer. On today's show, we'll have Vaughn Drewien, Brenden Jin, and Derek Joseph. With that being said, let's get started. Welcome, Vaughn. That was very Collinsworth-esque.
Thank you. Hi, Trevor.
Okay, let's hop into your first game.
Yeah, sure. First game I want to talk about is Philly and Vegas. This is a pretty good game, man. I don't know how you feel about Vegas so far, but they're looking like real contenders. They proved that in this game against Philly today. Yeah, I mean, the Eagles looked like a decent football team to start off, for sure. But after the great first drive where Kenneth Gainswell scored, Hurts and the offense just looked pretty lost. They didn't get it together on any other drives until really late in the game. Raiders looked like they were dominating.
Yeah, the thing with the Raiders, man, I feel like I'm eating my words with Vegas. I mean, like without John Gruden, they've been playing well the past 2 weeks. What I think with Vegas is we got to take what they're doing with a grain of salt, but they're not doing it against great teams, you know.
Right.
In their upcoming schedule, they have some pretty tough teams. It's not super easy. So I mean, they could prove me wrong, but I just don't think they're too legit.
Sure. I mean, they have a big advantage with what the Chiefs are kind of doing right now.
True.
Faltering hard.
Yeah, they're first in the AFC West right now.
That's pretty crazy. Who would have thought that?
Nobody.
For this season?
Nobody at all. Not even Raiders fans would think that.
No, seriously. And the Chargers, I mean, they're a force to be reckoned with. But, I mean, what the Raiders are doing, they're being true to who they are as a team. And I think most importantly, Derek Carr has really come alive. I think he's been –
Derek Carr, man, yeah.
He's never been a shoo-in for one of those top guys. But, I mean, you have to look at what he did this week, man. So after he threw a pick he couldn't capitalize on a really, really good catch by Zay Jones down by the end zone, and he threw a pick. After that, 16 straight completions, ended up 31 of 34 for 323 and 2 scores. I mean, he came back angry.
So that's a 91.2% completion percentage, and then he has now in his career two career games with at least 30 attempts above 90% completion percentage. So everybody else in NFL history combined has won. That's a wild stat.
Derek Carr, man.
So before we go on to the next game, what about the Eagles, man? Do you think they move on from Jalen Hurts? Do you think they get a different quarterback through the draft or through free agency?
Yeah, it's interesting, man. Hurts, they put a lot of stock into this guy. They want him to be their quarterback of the future, and certainly he has the potential. He has the athletic ability. He has the arm. His inconsistencies and his pretty poor decision-making, which was on display again this week, really puts him in a tough position. And they actually just traded their backup, Joe Flacco, which is an interesting move, to say the least. So I think they're rolling with him. They'll kind of just see what they have when he's running the offense. But, I mean, they got some playmakers. Like Miles Sanders, he got carted off early in this game, but which is really unfortunate. But he looks real good. I've always been a fan of him, so I hope he gets better. I think they'll just roll with it, maybe have a signing in the offseason, but they're not looking too hot for the rest of this year.
I'd agree. And then your next game is Houston and Arizona?
Yeah, man. Talk about lopsided. This might be the best and worst team in the NFL right now, this matchup. It started off really interesting, man. They were playing a little baseball.
Oh, man, before we jump into that. Okay, so today, 6 games on Sunday. Oh, not today. 6 games on Sunday were decided by over 20 points. This is tying an NFL record.
Really?
That's just an interesting stat. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, dang, really?
And then, okay, you were talking about Arizona, I think?
Yeah, Arizona, man. Spoiler alert, they creamed them. Houston went up 5-0, though, which I thought was really interesting. That was the Texans' first road lead since week 2 in the first half.
Wow.
When they led for about 6 minutes against the Browns. That tells you what kind of offense they have. I got a quick question for you, Trev. Can you name the quarterback of the Texans?
Yeah, Davis Mills.
Never heard of him in my life. I was so surprised when I saw him in the box score. Really not much to look at for me. He's been with him at the helm after Taylor went down. They've been outscored 151 to 39 in 5 straight L's.
Jeez.
I think they lost 40-0 to the Colts the other week. Not looking very good. Looking more anemic than anything.
So Davis Mills was a 4th-round pick from Stanford. I don't really. They knew the Deshaun Watson situation, and they picked him, thinking he might, I don't know, turn into something.
Right.
He's not. He's not.
Yeah, they took a flyer. I think if Tyrod Taylor was at the helm, they would be maybe decent. They do have playmakers. That's what confuses me, man. Mark Ingram, Phillip Lindsay, Danny Amendola, and Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
They all combined for 73 yards of offense last week. I mean, you got to get more out of them, dude.
And then, speaking on the Texans, you said that stat. So in their last 3 road games, they've been outscored a combined score of 102 to 8. That's crazy. And then
Pretty bad.
You know what scoregami is, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is the.
What was this a score?
This was a scoregami game.
No way.
So this is the 1,068th unique score in NFL history. That's 2 weeks in a row.
That's awesome.
Last week we had one, and today and Sunday we had one.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Okay. So, do you see Arizona just coasting to the Super Bowl, or do you think like other contenders could just fight off Arizona?
Oh, nah, man. I mean, they've had a good run of it. I think everything's gelling for them. Obviously, I don't think they're going to just coast. I mean, they have some good tests coming up. And, you know, Murray is not invincible, right? He's not at that stage in his career. I don't think he can do everything for this team. He's doing enough. But everyone's working together really well. The defense is doing really well. Chase Edmonds and James Conner might be the best running back duo in the league right now, in my opinion.
Healthy at least.
Sure.
Because the Browns, I would say.
Sure. Okay, that's fair. But James Conner, I mean, like, he didn't go anywhere. He's still balling. He runs super aggressively all the time. And Chase Edmonds is like the reincarnation of David Johnson. I love his game. He's been really consistent for him. He's my fantasy flex option every week. And like I said, Murray, man, he's a young Russell Wilson. Like, he has a great skill set. I think he's sharpening his skills every week. And they have some OG veteran leaders all across that team.
Yeah.
You know, you got AJ Green, J.J. Watt, and, of course, Hopkins. This was like Hopkins' revenge game. That's what it was billed as. And he, you know, quietly put up 53 yards and a score. So
and then
that's just what he does.
On the playmakers of Arizona, Zach Ertz, A.J. Green, DeAndre Hopkins, and Christian Kirk all had over 50 receiving yards.
Yep.
And 3 of those guys had touchdowns. And then James Conner and Chase Edmonds had over 60 rushing yards, both of them. And then
Spreading the love.
yeah, I mean, they're just passing the ball, man. And it's working. And running the ball, obviously, and that was working as well.
Yeah. Fun fact also about that, Zach Ertz scored that long touchdown for them in this game. First player in NFL history with a touchdown in consecutive weeks for 2 different teams.
I saw that stat, too. That stat doesn't make any sense to me.
It seems like that's happened.
Yeah, it seems like that's definitely happened before, but it hasn't.
Weird.
Okay, one more question before we move into a really dope game. If you're at the top of the draft, which I think the Texans could easily be, either the Texans or the Lions right now, do you know who Kayvon Thibodeau is, the guy from Oregon?
Nah.
He's like a great defensive end. He's like a Myles Garrett type guy. Would you be willing to take a defensive end at the top of the draft, or would you take a quarterback this year?
Who are the quarterbacks?
They don't exactly.
I mean,
there's Sam Howell, there's Matt Corral, and there's Malik Willis. Those are really like kind of no-name guys. But I mean, Justin Herbert was kind of like just a no-name to me as well, and then he exploded.
Right.
I don't know.
You can never tell. I mean, it also depends on the type of offense that you're running. But I mean, every year there's teams that are going to take that flyer. Everyone wants that franchise quarterback. Doesn't always work out. I think. I don't know, man. I think if there's a overall best talent, you got to go for it.
Yeah.
And
I'd
what's
agree
his
with
name
that.
that you were just talking
Kayvon
about?
Thibodeau, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a good option for a team.
I definitely agree with that. And then Cincinnati and Baltimore is your last game, right?
Yeah, man. Save the best for last. This is a great game. Didn't end up being that competitive, but the first half was some exciting football from the two teams that are going to make this a dogfight in the AFC North.
Absolutely.
So yeah, the Bengals came out on top over the Ravens. I think it was in large part a battle of the quarterbacks. I mean, Lamar Jackson did what he does. He was running all over the place, making plays for him, slinging that rock. But Joe Burrow is for real. I mean, this dude is a playmaker. He makes good decisions. I think he looked comfortable and made all the right reads all game. He had one kind of like backtracking lob pick that was headed for the end zone. Before that, I think he hadn't made a real incompletion in the red zone all season. Really? Except for a couple spikes. So, I mean, he's 23 of 38, 416, 3 touchdowns. Yeah. 113 passer rating, man. Like
416, man. Jeez.
That's a lot, man. He's a good quarterback. He didn't look great last year, but he has come on strong, and I love what he's doing.
And then Jamar Chase. I feel like I'm talking about Jamar Chase every single week.
Dude, seriously.
He
deserves it.
He's probably, exactly. He's deserving of the talk. Yep. He 8 catches, 201 yards, 1 touchdown. He's the first rookie since Mike Evans in 2014 to have over 200 yards in a game. And then he's on pace for 85 catches, 1,831 yards, and 15 touchdowns. That's unreal.
That's crazy. I mean, we'll see if he can do that.
Yeah, true.
But, like, I don't know. I think this is – I don't know about you, but I feel like this is his coming out parade. This 200-yard game against a division rival to put his team on top of the division, like, and that 82-yard spin cycle he put him in, like, that was an awesome play. That's a highlight reel for the rest of the season. So, yeah, I think he's on everyone's radar now, like, officially.
I think he's also top 5 in the league in receiving yards right now.
Is he really? That doesn't surprise me at all.
And then the Bengals are the number 1 seed in the AFC. Who saw that coming, by the way?
That's crazy.
Zach Taylor, I didn't believe was a real head coach. I didn't think he was a good head coach, but he surprised me. And then the Ravens, Lamar had 88 rushing yards, but the second most was Devonta Freeman with 14.
Right.
That's not good from a rushing team.
Yeah, and what happened to Le'Veon, man?
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be a little bit of a difference maker. 5 carries for 5 yards, though. I mean, I was pretty disappointed at that, just personally. Like, I want to see him do well.
I don't know. I don't know. He is never – okay. One time, it was like I think it was 2018 when he held out. I had the first pick in my fantasy draft. I picked him first overall in 2018. I was like, Le'Veon's going to come back. He's going to come back. I have had a personal vendetta against Le'Veon Bell ever since, man. I don't know. He's never – ever since that, I just thought, yeah, this guy isn't that good. And he hasn't.
Do you want to see him shine, though?
I do. I don't know. I'm not going to, like, hold anything against him. Like, I'm not going to be like, I don't want you to succeed. But at the same time, seeing him not succeed is like, you know. Okay.
It gets confusing to me. He has too much talent to be third string and
That's
just
true.
not producing when he's actually out there.
But he can't win a starting spot. That's a thing. In Kansas City, he didn't do anything, and then I mean he won a Super Bowl. That's a thing. But he's not doing anything with the Ravens either. And then so the Bengals are the first seed we said already. Are they legitimate contenders for the division or for the Super Bowl? Do you believe in the Bengals, Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor?
Right now, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's hard not to. They look like a complete team and actually have a leader under center with some young, great playmakers, a lot of emotion. They play with tenacity. C.J. Uzoma.
The tight end, yeah. Uzoma.
Dude, he's great, man. Yeah, he had a get-off-me touchdown and added another later on, led with 91 yards. I mean, he looks like a playmaker, too. Like, everywhere you look, you see young guys coming out of their shell, really coming into form and becoming possible stars in the league. And for the Bengals, I'm all for it, man. What have the Bengals had over the last few years? They wasted the career of A.J. Green and kind of Andy Dalton. Tyler Eifert you could even throw in there. So I want to see him do well. I think this is the year. I mean, they're looking pretty stacked, bro. Not gonna lie.
So you would say they could win the Super Bowl? Like,
I don't want to say the Super Bowl. You say AFC. I'm totally for AFC.
Okay.
Like, they look like a contender. I mean, Baltimore is kind of who you're chasing at this point. And then they passed them. Like, they've proven they can beat them and, like, pretty handily. So, you're looking at the Chargers. You're looking at who else? Like, not the.
I guess you could toss.
Who else could be
the Ravens?
Bills?
The Ravens are in there.
Bills
The Bills
probably.
are in there. You said the Chargers are ready.
Yeah.
I never count out Kansas City. To be honest, I don't think that they're counted out for. I think they have a chance all the time. But yeah, those are really like the top two. Tennessee, I guess, is one of them.
Tennessee, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. Can't count out the king, you know.
Yeah, but you would say they could win the division and the AFC.
100%.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. You did a really good job. It was awesome just to talk football with you, and
Yeah,
you really
man.
know what you're talking about. So I enjoyed that.
That's my pleasure, Joe.
So thank you very much. Welcome back to the weekend wrap up with Trevor Junt. I'm your host, Trevor Junt. This is Brenden Jin.
How you doing?
His is at BrendenJ14, or you can follow his podcast at No Gain Sports. So Brenden, let's go into your first game. What is your first game?
Up first, I had the Washington football team versus the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers had a stellar game, 274 yards, 3 touchdowns, and only 8 completions on the game. And then next up, Tyler Heineke. I believe he left everything he could on the field. That man balled out. 268 passing yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. He also led the team in rushing yards with 10 attempts on 95 yards.
Yeah, man. Honestly, Heineke just I feel kind of bad for the guy. He got tossed into a situation where he didn't need to be tossed into.
Definitely.
You know, like I don't think he was prepared to be the starter because Ryan Fitzpatrick was signed obviously to be the starter.
Definitely, yeah.
Breaks his hip, and then Heineke gets tossed in. He rushed for 95 yards.
Yeah.
And I think his stats were a little bit like skewed due to like just kind of garbage time as well.
Yeah, that is true.
He didn't have a super good game.
But he did he was supposed to have that touchdown, and I felt really bad for him. So
that rushing touchdown.
He had a wide open touchdown, like he was just rushing. I think it was 3rd and goal. Yeah, it was 3rd and goal. He had it wide open. He could have walked in the end zone, but one defender came out of the corner, and he just kind of dove for it and put the ball out. But they claimed that he slid as a quarterback and gave himself up, marked him down at the 1, and then they went for it, and they didn't convert.
Yeah.
And I felt terrible because if it was any other position, if it was a running back, a wide receiver, just putting the ball out over the end zone and sliding in, it would have been a touchdown. But because it's the quarterback, they're saying that he gave himself up.
At that point in the game, too, it was 7-21.
Yeah, exactly.
So it
And-
went in 14-20,
Yeah,
21.
and Washington had a great drive before that, and they're really starting to get momentum. So I felt really bad for him at that moment.
I feel that. And then Aaron Rodgers, man. Aaron Rodgers is just doing Aaron Rodgers things. The MVP of last year is just playing well again. And then one more thing before I ask you a few questions. The Washington football team, I feel like I repeat this every week because I do repeat this every week. The Washington football team is not performing to what they were like said to be.
Yeah.
They were said to be a top 5 defense. Chase Young, their star player, only had 2 tackles in this game.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So what's your opinion on the Washington football team defense?
Like you said, their defense is definitely not performing to the level that they should be. It's still earlier in the season. I feel like they can adapt and overcome these tough times right now. But I definitely see a bright future with Chase Young. But at the moment, yeah, they're definitely not living up to what they should be. And also, Antonio Gibson was expected to have a breakout season. I mean, last season he was doing great. He was having a good amount of yards and averaging about, I think it was a touchdown a game. And this season, it's definitely been underperforming.
I remember before the season, Ron Rivera said he's going to give him a Christian McCaffrey type role.
I saw that too.
And then this.
Yeah, and they definitely haven't been giving the volume. They've been splitting reps with J.D. McKissick, and I definitely didn't see that one coming, especially after all the offseason talk.
And then, okay, Green Bay plays Arizona on Thursday Night Football. Arizona's 7-0.
Yeah.
Green Bay's 6-1.
Yeah, that's going to be a great game. I'm
Who
really
do you
looking
have
forward to
winning that game?
That's tough. Aaron has been on a tear recently. I mean, that man's unstoppable. But that Arizona defense is scary. With J.J. Watt, the new addition, Isaiah Simmons is really filling in. I think Arizona could take it as long as Kyler Murray keeps performing at that high level.
Yeah.
I definitely see Arizona pushing to 8-0, but that's going to be a great game.
And so the Arizona offense is obviously explosive. They have so
Extremely.
many, and then the Arizona defense is second in DVOA, which is like it's defense. It's how they measure defense.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact term. I think it was. Let me find it. It's defense adjusted value over average, just meaning like their defense is very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Green Bay will win that game, just personally.
Okay.
I think Aaron
And why is
Rodgers.
that?
Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers. That's.
I can't argue that. And even like all the off-season rumors and everything, that man's going crazy. I mean, Devontae Adams had 6 catches and 76 yards and 1 touchdown.
He got COVID today.
Oh, yeah, I did see that, too.
Yeah, so he'll be out of that
Ooh.
game.
Yeah, that is crazy.
It'll still be fun to watch, though.
Great game. I'm really looking forward to that.
And then your next game is what? Is it Carolina?
The Carolina Panthers versus the New York Giants.
Okay.
And like I said last week, as long as Daniel Jones limits his mistakes, he'll be a great quarterback. And what did he do? He limited his mistakes. 203 passing yards and a touchdown. And how about that one-handed catch, huh? Did you see that?
Yeah.
That was amazing. They ran a reverse, I believe, to Dante Pettis, and he threw it to Daniel Jones. Overthrew him by a mile. But he really showed his athleticism by getting up there with one hand, securing it. And I really liked how he showed his toughness and dedication to the team by willing to lay his body out and taking that hit to
Speaking of
secure the
which,
catch.
shout out to Dante Pettis. At Unorthodox Sports, we like Dante Pettis. He caught a touchdown pass as well.
Oh, yes.
So shout out to Dante Pettis. And then Carolina, dude. Sam Darnold got benched.
Yeah, that was very tough. Sam Darnold started, and he only threw for 111 yards and 1 interception. And he was taken out early in the beginning of the 4th quarter and was replaced by P.J. Walker. So I was really surprised by that.
P.J. Walker didn't do anything either.
No, he didn't.
3 for 14 and 33 yards.
Yeah, no. But I feel like just Carolina couldn't get anything going, even with the run game. It was just terrible.
Yeah, Chuba Hubbard did nothing.
Nothing.
And
Not
then
at all.
the Panthers also picked up Sam Darnold's option for next year. So that's $18 million guaranteed. That does not feel good for a franchise.
I also feel like this game isn't exactly everything that Sam Darnold has showed all season, though. The first 3 games, obviously, they started out very hot. They went on a big tear with DJ Moore going absolutely crazy, putting up, like, amazing numbers. And then now they've just gone through, like, I wouldn't say, like, the first half season slump. But I definitely could see them coming back later on, but they need to make big adjustments.
Okay. What kind of adjustments do you think?
Their defense has been giving up a ton of points. Last game, didn't they get – I believe they got blown out. I forgot who they played, but I remember it was not close. But, yeah, I think that and their offense needs to change. I mean, you can't blame them for the injury of Christian McCaffrey, but without him, this offense has definitely come to a standstill.
So I think they played the Cowboys last week, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
And they got blown out in that game.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And then on the Giants as well. I don't know. The Giants, like you said, Daniel Jones didn't make any mistakes, and he didn't. He didn't. But I mean, he also didn't play terrific.
He didn't play terrific, but I mean, for who they were playing against and the way that the Carolina Panthers offense was moving, he didn't have to do anything spectacular. I feel like they got up pretty early, or well, about halftime was when they got their biggest lead. They didn't really have to do too much after that, and I feel like the Giants did a good job of spreading the passes out, spreading the ball between their receivers. 3 receivers had at least 5 catches, what I really liked. Dante Pettis actually had a pretty good game for once, too. It's been a little while since we've seen that.
He's on the Niners dropping those passes, man.
Yeah, he was. But I feel like he's really made a comeback, and as long as he can keep this up and keep his consistency up, he could be a good receiver.
And then before we go in your next game.
Yes.
So I thought the Panthers defense actually played well. They held the Giants to 5 points until they fell apart during the second half. That's when they fell apart. Do you think the Panthers give Sam Darnold another shot? Do you think they move on? And if they do move on, how do they dispose of $18 million?
I don't think a team can really just give up on that. I mean, obviously they went out of during the offseason they went out to secure Sam Darnold, and they felt like he could be a good fit to the offense, being mobile. And he showed promise as the Jets. I just feel like he didn't get enough coaching. And I think that's just the growing pains of coming into a new offense. He's going to have to learn to adjust. And like I said, the absence of Christian McCaffrey really takes everything away from this offense. So I feel like Sam Darnold can really show his true colors within the second half of this season. I don't think they can just dispose of, like you said, the $18 million. I feel like they just have to roster him for the next season and see what can happen.
Okay. And do you think he starts again?
I feel like he starts again. He deserves a second chance. I mean, it was just, overall, like we said, the offense just struggled altogether. So you can't put it all on Sam Darnold, but he is, as the quarterback, you're the biggest to blame.
Yeah. And then Indianapolis and San Francisco, correct?
Oh, yes. So up next, like Trevor said, San Francisco 49ers versus the Indianapolis Colts. This game was very, very slow to start, and it was almost hard to watch as a football fan sometimes. There's all kinds of errors. Mostly, you can attribute that to the rain.
Windy and rainy. Man.
Windy and rain. Each team lost 2 fumbles, and Jimmy Garoppolo also threw 2 interceptions. And both teams had multiple botched snaps. But although it was a tough game, I felt Carson Wentz still played pretty well. He had 150 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, you can only do so much in that type of conditions. He had 23 rushing yards and a touchdown. He did have an errant throw. It was called an interception at first, but it was later changed to a fumble. But he was running and just shovel passed it right to a linebacker, and it was not even close.
And then, I'm a Wentz and Reich fan. I like the combination of the
I do.
two. I think I've said this before, but Frank Reich and Carson Wentz, like that's a equation for success. Back in like 2017, their Super Bowl run,
And that was
coordinator.
Carson Wentz's MVP season.
He
he had a great season leading up to it.
Yeah.
He showed out, but I mean, once he got hurt, then you kind of have to take away from it. But I mean, he was on pace to be one of the best quarterbacks in the season at the time.
And then Jimmy G, man,
Yes.
Jimmy G, it's so rough. It's so rough.
Very tough.
It's a hard situation too because of Trey Lance and him knowing that his job is going to be taken. You know? He went 16 for 27, 181 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and then a fumble that he lost.
Very true.
He's not the future to me. I think once Lance is healthy, he should be put back into the lineup. What's your opinion on that?
I feel like Jimmy Garoppolo definitely brings the veteran presence into the offense, but I agree. I don't see him as being the future for the 49ers. Trey Lance definitely has the raw potential to become a great quarterback in the league, but I personally feel like he has to sit for at least a year or maybe even a season and a half behind at least Jimmy Garoppolo to learn the offense, because Kyle Shanahan is an offensive genius, and it's going to be very difficult to try and learn the terminology, all the different plays, how to really be on the line of scrimmage and make adjustments to the defense. So I feel like Trey Lance has to sit back for a little bit, really learn it before he can go in and be effective. But yeah, I agree. Jimmy Garoppolo's not really the future.
So speaking on Kyle Shanahan, man, I think of him as an offensive genius as well. I love a good running game and using the fullback well and stuff. The outside run is awesome. But now the Niners are 4.5 games back on their division at 2-4, and Kyle Shanahan is now 31-39 in his career.
Yeah.
So where is that offensive? Where's that genius? Like where is he gone? How do you think you can fix San Francisco?
I feel like Kyle Shanahan's true offensive genius was shown in their Super Bowl run season when everybody was healthy, the line was working well. Jimmy Garoppolo facilitated but didn't overstep his boundaries. He didn't try to do too much. And obviously that showed in the Super Bowl when they lost that he couldn't make those plays when it was up to him. But I feel like the record doesn't really show Kyle Shanahan's ability to coach, because he was, first of all, when he was first hired, he was hired into a terrible situation. The 49ers were terrible. They didn't have talent. They had draft capital, but didn't really know what to do with it yet. And by drafting certain players, he showed that he can make a Super Bowl team. Like the 49ers went 3-13, and then the next season they went 13-3 and went to the Super Bowl. Like no one saw that coming. So I feel like if you give Kyle Shanahan a healthy team and a healthy offense, he can make that into a great team.
I'd agree with that. I think he's a good coach personally. And then that was the end of your games, correct?
Yes.
So my game is Detroit and the Rams. So I mean, the Lions really fought hard in this game. They literally tried everything. They
did. They
threw
came out
everything.
swinging.
Yeah, they did.
Opened up with an onside kick, was it?
Yeah.
Recovered, and then they converted on a 4th down on a fake punt, which they did later in the game, but that kept the drive alive to score a touchdown, and then they came back and even got another field goal. They went up 10-0 in 5 minutes.
And they did 2 fake punts, actually.
Yeah, they came back later in the game.
And then, Dan Campbell is just trying. He knows his team and his boundaries, and I believe he's just trying everything he can to help them win.
Definitely.
It's a bad situation for him. And then Jared Goff. Jared Goff blew this game, man.
Yeah.
He blew this game. At the end, I think there was a 15-play, 9-minute drive, and they were about to score, take the lead, possibly win the game, and Jared Goff just made an awful decision. Threw it right into coverage, and who else picked it off but Jalen Ramsey?
Jalen Ramsey, of course.
It's sad.
Yeah.
And then the Rams. Okay, you know what? Before we go into the Rams, how much time do you think the Lions should give Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes on this franchise rebuild?
I mean, going into the situation, we all know the Lions aren't the greatest organization right now in the NFL. I feel like you have to give a coach at least 3 years to show a little bit of promise, But you can't, in 3 years, you can't expect winning seasons and playoff runs. I mean, the Lions have so many holes to fill. Their defense is obviously lacking. Their offense has been struggling. And Jared Goff doesn't look like the answer so far. So I feel like you can't be too harsh on Dan Campbell yet. I mean, obviously, this game he showed that he wants to do everything he can. Even 0-6, he wanted to show everything he could to try and get this win.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah, and definitely at that 0-6, you'd feel like, oh, we should just tank and get a better draft pick. But going out against the Rams, one of the best teams in the NFL currently, and they gave him a run for their money. So I feel like you can't really fault Dan Campbell yet. You have to give him, like I said, at least 3 years, and maybe in 5 years, if you're not performing up to your level, then you could kind of cut him off.
He also has that 6-year deal. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I think they'll give him time.
Exactly.
And then the Rams. So Cooper Kupp is the main storyline to me.
Yeah.
He had 10 receptions, 156 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So he has 809 receiving yards, which is leading the league. 9 receiving touchdowns, which is leading the league. 56 receptions, which is leading the league. 37 first downs. Guess what? That leads the league.
Wow.
20 catches of 20 yards or more. Guess what? He leads the league.
Surprising.
And then 40-yard plays. He is actually second in the league. So that it's a shame on him. But no,
Not good enough.
Cooper Kupp is insane, man. And then the pairing with Matthew Stafford, it's beauty. It's beauty.
Matthew Stafford adds so much to that offense. It actually makes me smile. I love to see how well the Rams are doing with him. I mean, you can't hate the guy, Matt Stafford. He's such an amazing person on and off the field.
True.
He gives everyone as much as he can, no matter what. I mean, he showed that even with the Lions. I mean, they were having losing seasons, but he was still so dedicated to that organization, gave him everything he had. So you have to respect Matt Stafford. I love that guy.
And then before we end, what do you think the Rams have to do to win the Super Bowl? Right now they're 6-1 and they're at the top of the NFC. What do you think they need to do to win the Super Bowl?
I think they need to stay consistent with what they've done so far. They've been getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback. I mean, you can't stop Aaron Donald.
True.
Their cornerbacks have been playing great. I mean, obviously Jalen Ramsey sealed the deal last game. And I feel like Matt Stafford has been playing consistent. He doesn't need to overstep his boundaries, but he showed his arm talent is just amazing. I feel like to get this offense to the next level, their run game has been good, but it needs to become great. Matt Stafford is his first year in the offense, and obviously he's been doing great so far. But if you can get a run game in there to help him too, unstoppable. And I feel like they also
Darrell Henderson.
Yeah, Darrell Henderson's been doing good, but like I said, nothing outstanding.
Yeah.
And then also try and get more people in the offensive involved. No one's been able to stop Cooper Kupp so far, but sooner or later they're going to figure it out. But if you can get Robert Woods involved, and Van Jefferson has been playing great.
True.
Their tight end, Higbee, if you can get those people more involved outside of just relying on Cooper Kupp, unstoppable.
Well, cool, man. Thank you. Well, okay, I'm going to say thank you. I disagree on one point. So the NFL hasn't figured out Devontae Adams. The NFL hasn't figured out those top receivers, DeAndre Hopkins.
I know, but
I just don't know if it's possible to shut down. Like, Cooper Kupp is just a different receiver, man.
Yeah, he's really showed that. I mean, he's always been a great receiver, but this year he's taking the next step. I just feel like there's just so many weapons on the Rams offense that you can't really stop a single person and dedicate everything to Cooper Kupp. I don't know. I feel like sooner or later the defense will start figuring it out. But
Okay.
we'll agree to disagree.
Yeah, well,
we'll see. I'll be on later in the season, and then we'll talk more.
Absolutely. Once he breaks all the records.
Okay. I mean, he's on pace with Randy Moss right now, and when you're in the conversation with Randy Moss, I mean, you're obviously doing something right.
So again, Brenden, thank you for coming on the show, buddy.
course.
You did a great job.
Thank you, man.
So follow Brenden at BrendenJ14, and then also he has a sports podcast at No Gain Sports.
Definitely.
So thank you,
so
man.
much.
Good job. Good
Thank
job.
you.
Welcome back to the weekend wrap up with Trevor Junt. I'm Trevor Junt. This is Derek Joseph. His social media handle is at DerekJoseph98. And Derek, let's go into your first game, which I think is Kansas City and Tennessee.
Yep, Kansas City and Tennessee. Probably what I would say Patrick Mahomes' worst start of his career. Going for only 20 for 35 with 206 yards and 1 interception to show for that. The Chiefs or the Titans had their number just the entire game, and it just wasn't even close. The Chiefs had never even showed up to this game. It was just awful, and there was a lot of weird things happening in this game. you know, like you had Derrick Henry throwing for a touchdown in this game, and
That was similar. Do you remember the like divisional round against the Ravens a few years ago, like 2019, I think it was.
I
or
think
20.
I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, he like did a jump pass and then to Corey Davis, and now he did this jump pass to Michael Pruitt. It was just interesting.
Yeah, that was interesting. Like a few more things to note in this game. Ryan Tannehill had a really good game of 21 of 27, 270 yards, a passing and rushing touchdown. He had himself a solid game. And I feel like a part of the key to the Titans winning is usually how good of a game Tannehill is able to have, because he can be kind of wishy-washy sometimes.
Yeah.
I feel.
I understand what you're saying. I think it's Derrick Henry most of the time at least. He had 29 carries for 86 yards, which isn't incredible, but you're right. Ryan Tannehill did make up for like issues in that situation.
Yeah, and Derrick Henry didn't necessarily have his best game running the ball this week, so Ryan Tannehill's picking up the slack there made things a lot easier for him. All he had to do was throw for a touchdown this week instead of run it 50 times and get them the win. So
And then the Titans started off this game scoring 5 straight times, the 27 straight points. That's all their points were in 5 straight drives, and then they didn't score from there on out. But still, I mean, Kansas City. So in the first half, they put up 277 yards, and Kansas City put up 67. That's a massive difference.
yeah. Also, I want to note that A.J. Brown had himself a day too.
He did.
With 8 receptions, 133 yards and a touchdown. Like, you can't really get much better than that, and that was fun to watch him.
And then the Kansas City defense is obviously awful. But what's surprising is to us and to all of America is their offense and the struggles. They've thrown 9 interceptions. Mahomes leads the league with 9. And they keep turning over the ball with picks and fumbles. This could definitely change. I mean, you can stop throwing picks, you can stop fumbling, but I don't know, man. I keep defending the Chiefs, but I don't know how I can keep defending the Chiefs when they do stuff like this. You know?
Yeah, the Chiefs are like having a really similar run to like what the Seahawks had when they were successful.
Oh no!
Because they won their Super Bowl with the second-year quarterback. And then they get to the Super Bowl, lose to Tom Brady, and now they're starting off really slow.
I didn't even see that parallel, man.
The parallels are kind of scary. If you go back and look at the numbers, and just the players involved too, it's weird. It's kind of scary how this is happening.
So I think the Chiefs are 3-4. I think that's manageable. I think they make the playoffs and make some noise. Are you like truly concerned about KFC? I almost said KFC. Some chicken, buddy. You concerned about some chicken? No. Are you concerned about Kansas City? Like, do you think they could turn around their team?
I think any team with Patrick Mahomes on it is capable of turning around, but they are going through some struggles right now, just like a lot of other teams are. So it's a real toss-up this year who's going to be good in the NFL. I think it's still a little too early to call, but we'll see just how the season progresses.
And then let's hop in. Wait, before we do that, okay, this is kind of a silly question because he is a running back. Is Derrick Henry a real MVP candidate in your eyes?
Yes.
I think so too.
Yes.
So too. And then your next game is the Jets in New England, or is it Chicago and Tampa Bay?
We're going to talk about the Jets and the Patriots
Okay.
next, because this game is a little bit worse than the first and the last. So this one was just a shellacking. The Jets had a horrible showing in this game. It didn't help that Zach Wilson got hurt, but would that have made much of a difference? I don't really think so. You had Mac Jones going for 24 of 36 and 307 yards, 2 touchdowns. You can't ask for more out of a rookie quarterback. Damian Harris getting 14 carries, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And J.J. Taylor running for 2 touchdowns as well. And it seemed like every time I looked, the Patriots just had the ball and they were running down the field dominating. They were scoring on trick plays too. That is
boring, yeah.
That was one thing about the blowouts I got to cover this week. I got to look at some trick plays and get some fun things out of it. Some receivers and running backs throwing the ball. That was a good time to watch.
So Zach Wilson sprained his PCL earlier in the game. He's going to be out for 2 to 6 weeks. Mike White, their backup, stepped in, didn't do anything special.
Nope.
Threw 2 interceptions. And then, so before okay, let's talk about Robert Saleh for a second. He's the new head coach of the Jets. He came from being the defensive coordinator of the Niners. They haven't been good or anything. What they said they would be, they said they'd be good with Robert Saleh. They need to step up. They've stayed awful. They're maybe worse than last year with Adam Gase, possibly one of the worst coaches in NFL history. They're worse than that. The Jets are an embarrassment in my eyes. If I'm a Jets fan, I am so embarrassed about my team. So I mean, what can the Jets ownership do to help turn this team around and change the team? What do you think are the Jets' biggest issue?
I mean, I would say try and build around your young quarterback, but I'm not sure about him either. Like it's really hard to say. Like I'm really glad I'm not the one who has to make that decision at any point in my life. But you know, like I don't know. Maybe you try and build a good defense like what Robert Saleh had in San Francisco, and maybe you just try and like get some. Like you have a few bad years, get some young studs on offense with your draft picks, and then maybe you can build something up like that. But I think that's the only way you're going to possibly be able to scrounge something good in the Robert Saleh era for the New York Jets.
Which is sad. I mean, that's tough to do, to build a good defense. Tough
Yes.
to do.
Yeah.
And then your next game was Chicago and Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Chicago and Tampa Bay.
But, oh, by the way, let's mention this. So we assign games every week. This poor guy got 3 blowouts. Jeez.
You know what? It's on me though. I chose them. So what are you gonna do?
True.
I chose this game because I was really intrigued with the storylines of it. You had old versus new, GOAT versus rookie. You can't, like I thought, like you know what, this kid Justin Fields is gonna just go. He's gonna have his best game of his life and he's gonna want to show out in front of the GOAT. But the thing is Tom Brady. Like he had himself a day.
Yeah.
You know, scoring his 600th career touchdown, and on the way to that he was 20 for 36, 211 yards and 4 touchdowns. You can't ask for anything more out of how old is he now? Is he like 50? I don't know how old this guy is.
I believe he's 42, maybe 43.
He looks more athletic now than he did when he came into the league.
He might be 44 right now. I think he's 44 years old.
It's like whatever it is, what he's doing is nothing short of incredible. I feel like Tom Brady was probably in his first 5 years of the NFL by the time Justin Fields is playing Pee Wee. So this is just crazy. And
wasn't this was like the biggest difference between ages and quarterbacks of all time?
I wouldn't be surprised just going into it, and that's what intrigued me about this game so much. And let me tell you, Justin Fields. He didn't live up to the challenge. He only threw for 184 yards and 3 interceptions. Every time I looked up and watched this game, the Buccaneers were either getting the ball back or they were scoring. So it just wasn't a good showing. You had Mike Evans getting 3 touchdowns and Chris Godwin with 1. Fournette with 81 yards and a touchdown too. You can't ask for any more out of a team getting a blowout like that. So
just correction, our guy Tom Brady is 44 years old and he's doing this.
Yeah.
And then you saw the 600 TD passes, like you said.
Yeah.
Did you see the whole fan situation? How Mike Evans accidentally gave it to a fan?
See, if I'm that fan, I am asking. Here's my response to him. If Brady wants this ball, he can come get it.
Yeah.
Come get it at lunch, or just come up to me in the stands and get the ball for me. But either way, that guy got a very short end of that deal.
No, I disagree. So here, this is what the guy got. He got 2 signed jerseys, a signed helmet from Tom Brady, a signed Mike Evans jersey, Mike Evans games cleats, $1,000 in credit to the team store, 2 season passes for the remainder of the season, and 2 season passes for next season. That's a haul, man.
Okay, and I think I even heard Brady say on the Manning broadcast that, don't quote me on this, but I think Brady might have even given him a Bitcoin for that too. So that ball was very valuable, and I'm glad that guy got his. Last I heard, all he got was a replica game ball. So I'm just thinking, that guy did not do his research on which ball that was.
And then Brady, I know we're in a different era, but Brady doubled John Elway with John Elway had 300 TDs career.
Yeah.
Joe Montana had 273. Steve Young with 232. Kurt Warner, these are all Hall of Famers, with 208. And then Troy Aikman with 165. Tom Brady has 600.
See, Tom Brady is the biggest anomaly that we've ever seen
I agree,
in the NFL. Tom Brady is like winning that many championships is not a thing we're going to see. I don't think we're going to see that again in our lifetime by one player.
Oh yeah, I agree.
If we do, it's going to be on a receiver who's changing teams all the time, and he gets lucky. He gets like a Robert Ory type of career, you know. One guy that is lucky
Big
enough.
shot Bob, dude.
One guy that's lucky enough to get on the right teams and just win a Super Bowl like every year, you know. But,
yeah, I agree.
But we're never going to see a player win 7 Super Bowls, and he may not even be done either. After this game, that team looks as much of a contender as any other contender we have out here.
Absolutely. And then let's go on to my game. That was the end of your games, correct?
Yes, that is.
So I have Atlanta and Miami. So this was quite a close game, quite different than what you had.
Yeah.
It was 30-28. Atlanta won. I've clowned on Atlanta all season, but in their past 2 games, they've won. I mean, they've won convincingly too. And, it's so stupid. What I saw at the start of the season, they didn't want to use Kyle Pitts for some reason. Picked him 4th overall. They didn't want to do anything with him. Again, I've said this a few times, but I was quoted saying, "Put the guy in the milk carton because he's missing."
Yeah.
He had 8 targets, 7 receptions, 163 yards, and a ton of like important catches to set them up well, and even made the final catch to set them up for the final kick to win the game.
Yeah. Kyle Pitts showed in that game why you draft a tight end like that in the first round. You know, he was the real deal in college, and it's looking like he's going to be the real deal in the NFL. I think Atlanta at some point will need to just salvage what they can and build around, oddly enough, Kyle Pitts. I think Kyle Pitts he's definitely going to be something big in the NFL.
Not just that, not even a tight end, man. He played wide receiver, he played slot. It was wild how the different positions he lined up as.
Yeah. Somebody as versatile as him and with the athletic ability he has, he needs somebody good throwing to him. And Matt Ryan, he can be that every once in a while, but you need someone consistent at quarterback. He's old. He's at the twilight of his career. He had his run. His run is not going to come again.
And then Younghoe Koo, the Korean prince of the NFL, made the 36-yarder to win the game. So you kept talking about Atlanta. What's your opinion on Atlanta? And do you see them? I don't see them being contenders. Obviously, they're not gonna like make any noise in the playoffs.
I don't really even see them making the playoffs.
I don't see them making the playoffs either. Yeah. So do you think they move on from Matt Ryan? What do you think they do?
I think it's time to move on from Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is. Like as soon as you lose a guy like Julio Jones, and go like with Julio going to Tennessee, like you lose a guy with that much like anchorage in the team, like there's no more foundation except for Matt Ryan as far as remnants of your team that got you to the Super Bowl a few years back. So I think after this season, it is time to move on from Matt Ryan. Whether he retires or they just send him somewhere else, like it needs to happen. Matt Ryan's time in Atlanta needs to be done.
And then let's continue on Miami. Miami is 1-6. They have 6 straight losses. I don't blame Tua for any of the failings that the Dolphins have gone through.
No, I don't either.
He went 32 for 40, 291 yards, 4 touchdowns. He did have 2 ugly interceptions, but he's a young quarterback, and that happens. I blame it on the coaching staff and the GM. I think Chris Greer, the GM, Brian Flores, the head coach, I think they're in trouble. I mean, they're 1-6 now, and they don't have their first-round pick. They traded their first-round pick to the Eagles in a trade.
Yeah.
And then
how long has Flores been the coach of Miami?
I believe 3 years or 3 or 4 years.
Okay. Because if he was only there for like 1 or 2, like then you can start you could maybe not blame it on the coach as much, but if the coach has been there for 3 or 4 years and he's still not able to do anything.
It's weird though, because they had success last season. They were 10-6, and then they fell apart this season. And then Miami, they've been reported on many platforms and with many people about being involved in the Deshaun Watson trade talks. He said that's like the one team he'd go to in a no trade clause. I personally have no respect for any team that's even considering trading for Deshaun Watson. The guy has 22 civil cases against him for sexual misconduct during massage therapy, and I believe he has 6 criminal suits. It's disgusting, man. I don't think if you have any self-respect that you would trade for a guy like that.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. Like, we obviously don't know everything about it because nothing has really come out about it, but it doesn't look good. like the semantics of it just are like they're not good, or the optics of it don't look good, and it's I don't think the quarterback's the issue in Miami. Don't go for Deshaun Watson. There may be other teams that could be suitable for him, but definitely not Miami. You need to build around the young talent that you have.
Okay.
And Tua's good, and he's capable of winning.
So do you think Flores is on the hot seat, or do you think they're looking for new head coaches?
If it keeps going like this, Flores will be on the hot seat.
Okay.
But if they start winning some games, that might be saving him a little bit. So.
Well, Derek, I think that's the end of all of our games. Thank you for coming on the show, man.
Yeah,
You did
man.
a great job.
Thank
Again,
you.
follow him. It's at DerekJoseph98. Thank you for tuning in to the Weekend Wrap-Up with Trevor Junt. We'll see you next week.